ghosts aren't known for taking care of themselves all that well. So, yeah, I was about to close up shop. But, yeah. Oh, but, yeah, I was just thinking of some of the good old days. Yeah, and, thinking about the stuff I used to do as a cub and that kind of thing. And, like most cubs, well, I ended up in scouts. And, one of my favorite things to do was tell stories around a campfire. Ah, why does my mouth never seem to want to cooperate as much as I do? Ah, oh wow. But yeah, those really were the good old days back by the old campfires and slightly haunted dark woods. The dark forest. It's a fun place to go, fun place to grow up. It's amazing what you can be when you grow up there, and yeah, but this kind of sounds like I'd be setting up a flashback. I mean, back to me being a cub and all. You know, well, this is the internet, so anything can happen, I suppose. So, flashback? Whoa! Hey, look at that. I'm a cub. Always seemed to be a lot more serious when I was a cub. I always liked hanging out in the woods. Usually had the pack with me. And when the Kayla would let us actually do fires, unsupervised. It's not. Honestly, someday I'm going to get my mom to work right. But anyway, we'd gather around the campfire and tell, ghost stories. Like, there was this one that's, I think it was my cousin or sister or someone. I don't know. Big families. We have a lot of relatives. That happens and such. But yeah, the things like hello, hello, true story. But out on the road that turns off the Highway 59, back by the I can't remember what hotel it was. It's not there anymore, so I guess it doesn't matter. But this couple were you know, parking under a tree, and well, they were supposed to be getting back to the college because dorm check-in. always staying out too late and such. But it was getting to the point that they should really be heading back. So they told she told her boyfriend and get the car started and whatnot. And well, it wouldn't start. And you know how the things go. It's like, the girlfriend's going, oh, this is all set up and no. No, it wasn't. The guy admitted that he could not get the thing to start, so he went ahead and got out of the car. And he told her to go and lock it because, well, near a creepy hotel, things happen in the hotel and the parking lot, apparently. But he was going to go to the hotel and see if he could get them to call. Admittedly, Cubs, when I was a Cub, cell phones didn't quite exist yet. So you had to use landlines, but still. But he had to walk over to the hotel and see if he could use their phone, because, well, people used to be nice enough to do that. So he said he didn't want anything to happen to her, and, well, he went to the hotel, and, well, supposedly he went to the hotel, but she waited and waited for him to come back, and, well, it seemed like almost an hour or so had come back, and she hadn't heard anything from him. So, a little bit scared there, so she wanted to stay around the car, but then she just kind of heard this scratching noise. Just, scraping. Just scratch. 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 But it was on the hood of the car. Well, not the hood, but the roof of the car. It was really a little unnerving, to be honest. And, it just kept going, and she got, more and more scared, because it just seemed to be slow and steady, and scratch, scratch, scratch. And, well, he still hadn't come back. So she just stayed in the car. She eventually, well, tried to fall asleep, but she wrapped up in the blanket he keeps in his backseat for reasons. He kind of dozed off and just stayed there. Just kept the car locked all night. You just keep occasionally hearing that scratching on the roof. Just scratch, 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 scratch. Well, she woke up because the sun was just starting to peek over the horizon, and well, it kind of caught her eyes, and she noticed that a lot of people had gathered around the car and then stopped, and they knocked on her window and asked her if she was okay and if she could get out. She eventually unlocked the door and climbed out, and people just kind of kept the blanket wrapped around her and asked how she was and what she was doing, and just generally worried about her. And she said, well, I was waiting for my boyfriend to get back, and the car wouldn't start, and he was going over to the hotel to get help and just call, and I just kind of looked at her and just said, he's not at the hotel, he didn't make the call. What happened to him? But, they just, they wondered because there was a police car already waiting there for him. They just kind of got her name, talked to her, tried to keep her calm, started walking over to the police car and asked her to go ahead and get inside, and they'd take her home, or at least back to the dorm, and try to get a hold of her parents. But she kept going, but where's my boyfriend? Where is he? And she started to look back to the car, but they stopped her and just turned around and just, you don't look, you don't want to look. They got her into the car and they went ahead and closed her in and started to drive off. And, well, they started driving off and she realized that she could look around, and she looked back as they were driving away. And there was her boyfriend, hanging from a tree over the car. It was his hand that was scratching the roof of the car. If they hadn't gotten her out of there sooner, the blood from his slit throat would have finally started trickling down the window. That she ended up getting checked into the local asylum afterwards because she did eventually go mad from this. Ever since they started calling that the hanging tree, and it was only there for 2 more months before the hotel finally decided to clear out the property next and got the tree cut down. But they left a memorial stone there commemorating the loss of the boy that died. It's still a little bit weird to think about. Hopefully it never happens again, but they never could explain or who or what it was that it's. Yeah, true story, Cubs. My cousin told me that. I always get chills thinking about that. So long ago. Although, strange enough, my boyfriend's car went on auction. I don't think they sold it for about a year or so after. They got it cleaned up and sterilized, and supposedly got everything cleaned out of it, but it got sold, and I think I'd heard that it got moved to Los Angeles, maybe? I don't know, but I had a cousin out there that was telling me, because I told him about the whole boyfriend found in the tree in the car, and he asked me what kind of car it was, and I said, well, it was a 67 Mustang, I think. Yeah, it was a 67. But he said, yeah, and I told him the paint and everything on it was actually a really cool car. I wish I could have had it, but as I said, it went to auction, and he said, wow, one of my, he said something about one of his friends that just bought one at a police auction. He was going, well, that's just way too coincidental, really. And no, it was at a police auction. It was pretty clean. Looked great, ran good, but it was really cheap. I think he paid like maybe just $5,000 for it. I mean, seriously, police auctions are the way to go if you want a car. But it was really cheap for what it was. I mean, The police didn't give any explanation or anything else, but he did ask him a little bit of information. They said that they had gotten it. Oh, it was recovered out in the desert, on between here and Los Angeles. I think it was a little bit outside of Las Vegas, maybe. It was out in the desert, but they said that they'd gotten it and impounded it and cleaned it up and put it on auction. And they didn't say anything about why it was so low. And I thought it was okay. Well, that was interesting. The guy went and took it, and he was driving around, rush hour traffic and whatnot. He was gonna go to the beach and, show off his car and his girlfriend and whatnot. But on the way there, they got stuck in the heavier traffic and, rush hour, and nice hot sun, and the car it wasn't smoking or anything, but it just started smelling something that just really, really bad. Like, they thought maybe a diesel next to them had backed up or something, but they said, okay, they were fine, and they just kind of rolled up the windows and turned the blower on a little bit more from the fan, because it didn't really have an AC. And when they did that, it just started smelling even worse inside the car. So they got out of the traffic and just pulled into an old Kmart parking lot. And just like, okay, well, maybe we'll go ahead and sit here and open the doors, let it air out a little, get our breath, and it's maybe just the smog in the air or something like that. So they just kind of went in and thought they'd go ahead and close up the car, and they went inside and shopped a little, found a couple blue lights, came back out, and they were ready to go ahead and continue on to the beach, because, still a pretty hot day, and, beach is a great place to go when it's hot. But they got there, and, they got back out to the car, and they thought everything was going to be fine and cool. They opened the doors, and, just wafted, like, rotten flesh or something inside the car, and I thought, did they leave something in there, or something crawl in, or maybe get a squirrel? I mean, a squirrel, when it's rotten, smells pretty bad. I mean, I'd never really let squirrels get bad, because they're tasty. I mean, rabbits, but still, it just smelled horrible. So they went ahead and just went to the beach and kind of suffered in the horrible smell. But they got to the beach and thought, okay, well, we're here, we can just leave the windows down, because, no one's going to disturb the car, because, people on the beach are cool. So they just left the windows down and went to the beach, kind of enjoyed their day. And when they came back, they were just going, okay, well, it was almost sunset when they got back. They got to the car and just got in, but the smell was still there. I mean, he had just gotten in the car, and it smelled continually worse the longer he had it. And it wasn't just because of Taco Bell or In-N-Out. But he went ahead and took his girlfriend home, and he couldn't stand it, and he just pulled us out of the road and started just doing a full search of the car, opened the hood, looked to make sure nothing had crawled in there and gotten, killed, animals looking for shelter. But, he didn't see anything in there. Well, there were a couple, pine needles, because, something had started building a nest, but there was nothing in it, because, yeah. And he was going, what is it? He went around and opened the trunk, started rummaging around in there, and just goes, well, I don't see anything. There's just nothing there. And then he thought, well, I've never really looked in the spare tire compartments. Maybe the No, the police wouldn't have missed anything there. I mean, no, that would have been horrible or anything. So he gets everything out of the back of the car and starts to open the spare tire cover. And it just, oh, massive, nauseous cloud. And it just, oh, it almost knocked him back, and his eyes were just burning from the smell. And he got closer to it, and he went, oh my God, why is this? Why would the police have seen this or anything? And then he opens it up and looks. And it's most of a body. It was twisted and mangled and almost looked like it was decomposing already. And it just, oh, nauseous smells everywhere. And he, oh, if the smog in Los Angeles wasn't bad enough, but yeah, and just he went over to a payphone and just automatically called the cops to have him come out there, and just they went over and looked at it and kind of pulled him aside and said, "How long have you had this car?" And said, "I just bought it from you guys just a week ago." No, a week. He goes, "Yeah, I've got the registration and everything in the glove compartment." I go, "We sold this a month ago." And I said, no, I just got it a week. Let me show you the papers. Show him the papers. Going, "This isn't one of our locations." And he just went, "We're gonna need to take you down to the station because this car was apparently holding the body of a dead child in the trunk." And they looked at it, and they looked closer, and they studied a little bit closer, and it was still wearing a Cub Scout uniform. It was one of us. It was a cub like us. And apparently had gone missing from a camp in the woods. I mean, camps are supposed to be safe, right? Right? Oh, good Lord, I haven't said the sun, please. Yeah, close. Poor planning on that part, sorry. Oh, freaking A. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Oh, man. Man, I can't believe I missed a freaking cue. Scuff, thy name is Kentron. I mean, I go here all this month and tell a scare freaking story, and nothing happens. That's not happening. What the hell? Oh, because I forgot to do this. Thinking. I didn't link any of the sound alerts. That's That's my bad entirely. Can't believe that. Can't freaking believe that. Yeah, guilty. Yep. I do have a mini-me version. And I forgot to set up everything in this window when I did it. Just can't believe I forgot the sound alerts. That's just typical for me. I just told a scary two-part story and was going to punctuate it with a jump scare sound on it. And, you know, things happen and I didn't get everything set up right, so no jump scare sound. Okay, I knew it was coming that time and it still made me jump. I need another story. Let's see, what do I have? There we go. Oh, those are always fun. I don't know why this image isn't reacting as much as it should. Let me try something else. This guy. This guy. Okay. Close bridger. Okay. Okay. Oh, eyes are a little bit better. Alright. Rebridger wasn't working right, apparently. Anyway. Let's see, what was another story I was thinking of? You know, I live on a fairly long stretch of good old America's Highway, Route 66. And we do have this little patch of road outside of town that doesn't really go through town because Route 66 has a tendency to not follow the main highways anymore. But it was just kind of off a couple miles from town, and there was this horrible wreck there, I think 20 years ago. I know they've closed off that section of the highway, so no one can get out there anymore because it was proving a little bit hazardous to drive. But I think it was maybe a year or so they reopened it. I know they've been rebuilding it, but you know this guy that's worked out there by the animal rehab place? He was on his way out to work, and he was driving along, and he was actually more coming into town than going away from it, but he was just hanging out there by the wildlife. He just kind of saw this woman walking along the side of the road. It was kind of weird that they'd be out there, but there's a couple of houses, and it wouldn't be the first time that someone's had a car incident and had to walk in a couple miles to town. So he was nice, and he thought he'd pull over and offer a lift, because, you know, he's a pretty good guy. And he just kind of pulled over and asked her where she was going. And she said that she was having to go into town because, you know, she had had a car wreck and no one was coming out to get her, and her brother lived, only a couple miles in. So she was just gonna go ahead and walk there and see if he could come get his truck and pull it in and everything else. Well, then Dad said, "Well, go ahead and come in. I'll take you there." "Where's your brother live?" And she goes, "He lives off of I think it was Coulter. No, it was off of Sauncey and Sauncey, about a mile off the boulevard. And still, it was rural back then, so not too bad. I think there's a Home Depot there now. I think, yeah, that's where they built it. But anyway, said, yeah, I can go ahead and take you in, and, drop you off with your brother and make sure that everything's okay. So, sure. So she got in and had her buckle up and everything else. And they started going down the road. As odd as the weather is around here, it started raining. It only seems to rain outside of town because we can't get enough water in town. But so turns on the wipers and they start talking, and they go ahead and get to town. And he looks over and it looks like she's kind of falling asleep, so he just lets her go and just keeps driving. And he goes and pulls up to the house, and he doesn't want to wake her, so he goes in, stops the car, gets out, and he walks up to the door. The light was still on inside. There was some weird looking wreath on their door, but he didn't really think anything of it. It was getting close to the holidays, so maybe they just decorated early. But he went up and just knocked on the door a couple times, and no answer. So then he went and rang the doorbell, and he could hear the doorbell. He didn't think anything of it, and the porch light kicked on. Then he just kind of listens, and he can hear like a locked chain and a couple of deadbolts opening. Finally, the door just kind of peeks open a little, and an old guy looks out and goes, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And I said, I found this girl on the side of the road, and she said she was headed here to see her brother, see if he could get his truck down to, pour her car out of a ditch or something. She fell asleep back in my car. If you want to come get her. And he goes, "I don't have a sister anymore." He goes, wait, huh? And the guy slams the door on him. And he just kind of stops and he's completely dumbfounded. So he goes ahead and kind of knocks on the door again. Guy opens the door again and goes, "If you don't get out of here, I'm going to call the cops." But, sir, the girl in the car, she said this is the address, and he'd say the address, and it's like, looks at the wall, and it's right there. And the guy just looks at him, closes the door again. And just kind of starts back to the car and stops. He looks at everything, and he's like, this has got to be the right place. He looks over and he sees a truck off to the side that looks like it's got a hauling rig on it and everything else. Kind of sees what looks like a beat-up car on the other side. Figures, well, this is Texas. The guy's, of course, going to have a beat-up car as property because, well, Texas. He knocks on the door again, and the guy just swings the door open and points like a double-barrel shotgun at him. And he goes, "I told you to leave right now. There is no one out in your car to come in here and talk about my sister." And he just starts breaking down completely. And just, you gotta be lying. My sister died 10 years ago in a car wreck. And the guy goes, no, she's in my car. I picked her up on the road. He talks about, it's down off of Santi in the loop. I was coming back in from wildlife. And he's going, the guy looks at him and goes, "You were where?" And he goes, no, really, she's in my car. She fell asleep on the way here. Come on, watch. And they go ahead and go out to the car, and the guy just opens the door, and he doesn't look in. He just opens the door and points, and there she is. The brother kind of looks over the car door and goes, there's no one there, man. Yeah, he looks, what? He looks in. The seatbelt's still fastened, and there's just wet imprints from where a girl would have been in the sitting if she had been in the rain. But she was gone. There weren't any footprints anywhere around the car. The guy just looks at the other man and slowly closes the door. The man kind of puts the gun down and goes, my sister, she died 10 years ago. I had to go and pull her car out of the ditch, and I haven't had the heart to fix it. And he walks the guy over and shows him the car and how damaged it was, and that the driver's seat was just completely crushed in, like it had wrapped around a tree in the ditch. He looks at the man again and goes, and who did I pick up in my car? Okay, maybe that wasn't the best sound effect for that story. Best thing about urban legends is you can really adapt them for any location. Especially if you can improv them. And I love the missing hitchhiker stories. This is what happens when I don't have enough trick-or-treaters to keep me busy. I mean, some of these urban legends have been around a long time, and some of them have actually been published. Really well-known stories. And I could start telling you a story and you'd be able to recognize it as soon as I get into it. I could flat out say this one. It's Dear Abby, if you are interested in teenagers, you will print this story. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it doesn't matter because it served its purpose for me. A fellow and his date pulled into their favorite lover's lane to listen to the radio and do a little necking. Okay. People do a little bit more than necking now when they park. I mean, come on. But the music on the radio was interrupted. by an announcer who said there had been an escaped convict in the area who had served time for rape and robbery. Honestly, it kind of sounds like my cousin. The escaped convict, not the... Yeah. But anyway, he described as having a hook instead of a right hand. The couple became frightened and drove away. When the boy took his girl home, he went around to open the car door for her. And then he saw a hook on the door handle. I don't think I will ever park and make out as long as I live. I hope this does the same for other kids. You know, that is lame. Let me do that a little better. So, back a few years ago, I was kind of hanging out at a campground, and you know, we're telling stories like this and everything else, and we figured that, oh, with a storm coming up, because storms do come up, we figured it might be a little safer to go ahead and sleep in the cars instead of in our little tents, because wind around here just blew a freaking tent out of the way. And I remember one year we had a tent that actually blew into the lake. Fun times. Almost as bad as when the river overflowed, but that's another story. But we went ahead and decided we'd go ahead and sleep in the cars because it would be safer, and it's not like there are bears or anything in the area. But, well, what people keep forgetting is that we do have a couple of, prison units in our area, and one place that we just call Pavilion, which is for the local nut jobs. Now, of course, if you're crazy, they don't want to put you in prison because then they think that you'll just destroy the prison system, so they will try to go and lock you up. I'm listening to other streams one day, so my mind will be distracted, as it often is. But anyway, we've got a lot of crazy people around here. Nowhere near the camp. Just to let you know, because like camp's on the camp is supposed to be like maybe 20 miles away from the closest one, but we were, technically downstream. So we were out there camping. The storm came up. They didn't want to open the cabins because no one had the keys for them. Because we're just Cub Scouts. We're not the whole adulting BSA Boy Scout groups. We're just Cubs. But anyway, we thought we'd go ahead and we'd leave the tents up, but we'd go ahead and zip them up and everything else, make sure they're secure. And we got in the cars and we just slept there because the cars are going to be safer with the weather. And ended up being a really bad thunderstorm, like out of nowhere. But we went ahead and went and slept, and it was nice and somewhat peaceful and quiet. And most of us slept. I didn't, because this was before thunderstorms were calming for me. But I just kept hearing, scraping on the side of the doors. I figured, one of the tents must have blown free. And it was just like a tent pole hitting. It was fun. I huddled up more in my sleeping bag in the back and just went, okay, if I can't see it, it can't get to me. If I can't see it, it can't see me. If it is something, creepy and scary. And I just kind of, eventually I dozed off just hearing the, occasional scraping outside. Figured it's, it could have been just a tumbleweed that blew in. In the morning, uh, I woke up to the sound of some of the other dads in the group honking the car horns to get everyone to wake up, and apparently scare off any wildlife that might be around. Scared the hell out of me. I nearly wet my sleeping bag. I drank way too much cream soda the night before, but that's neither here nor there. But I got out and all of the dads were like huddled around where our fire was supposed to be. It's, we were supposed to have had a fire but it rained and we didn't have fire, and they just said that even our firing had gotten knocked over, and luckily we didn't have a fire going. But looked around and there were some of the other cubs trying to set their tents back up, and then they started noticing that some of the tents looked like they had been torn or something, just because I guess weather. And then we started looking around a little bit more, and they weren't cut open; they were unzipped, like something had known how to get into the tents. And we looked at a few more, and some of the tents were just torn up, but they were all unzipped beforehand. It's like something got into the tents and destroyed them trying to get back out, or destroyed them out of, I guess, anger. But we looked at some of the other ones and that's okay, well, something got into the campground, and we figured, okay, well, just the adults were just thinking really bad weather, and some of our supposed cubs didn't zip their tents like they were supposed to, and all that stuff to blame us for everything else. I thought, oh, that's okay. I can kind of see that, and I turned around to just get my sleeping bag taken care of, and I looked at the side of my dad's car, and it had scratches on it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's just maybe that's the scratching I was hearing. I got close and looked at him, and goes, that looked more like someone had kind of keyed the car or something. I, didn't think about it, and I just kind of put my paw up against it and looked at the spacing, and it was twice the size of my paw. But it looked like it wasn't all there. It was like maybe missing a finger or two. But I looked at it, and it was just scratched down the side of the car, and just it. I went over and kind of got my dad's attention, pulled him back over, and he was going, "What?" He yelled at me because he thought I had done it or something. I don't know. And he's like, I looked at him and goes, "Dad, do you think I could have done that? I was in the car all night. You made sure the lock was on. The lock was on, right?" And looked at it and he goes, "Well, of course it was on." Um, then I remembered I didn't unlock my door when I got out. It was still unlocked, and these scratches are on my door where I was trying to sleep. It just, it was, and we looked around some more, and my father just kind of left me there and went over and started talking to the other fathers, and they got all kind of hushed and whispering amongst each other, and they started looking at the other cars, and some of the other cars were marked too, and then they saw one, and the tires were kind of slashed on it, and then they just talked to each other, and they decided that they would go ahead and radio the ranger and have him come out and or maybe call some other people out to look. But I just kind of stayed near the car and looked around, and then I just looked at the other cubs that were out there with me, and they were still trying to figure out the tents. And I was going, okay, well, I didn't see any tumbleweeds around or anything, but they could have blown away during the night too. But then I looked down, and there were huge, just absolutely huge paw prints next to the car. I mean, they're bigger than mine, but still. I mean, I've always had big feet, but still. And I just kind of looked at it and was going, "That's what, Dad?" Of course, he, kept talking to the other fathers. And I start looking around, and I just started following the tracks, and they went all around just completely all around the campsites, and then I went to the tents and looked at them, and I started looking at some of the marks on the tents, and they were slashed open, and just the paw prints were everywhere. And I couldn't tell if it was one or more than one, but I looked around some more, and then I just kind of stopped next to one of the trees, and I just froze looking at the tree. I just reached into my pocket and got my pocket knife out, and I started digging at the tree, and I pulled out this just massive claw. And I looked, and there were two of them just almost embedded in the tree. Like, I pulled those out and looked at them, and they almost looked like they were like metal replacement ones for like if someone had fingers missing or something. But just I just showed them to my dad, and he looked at those and just looked at me, and he got quiet again. And he looked at the other fathers and said, "Get all the cubs in the van and take them back into town. We'll wait here for the ranger." Looks at me and goes, "Alex, I want you to go back with the rest of the pack, okay?" And I need. He stopped and just looked at me and give me one of those claws. I just kind of nodded and gave him one of the claws I dug out of the tree, and me and like six of the other cubs were just ushered over to the van. We got in, and we went back into town, and we kind of went back, and I started, you know, working on a story I was writing, and I was just listening to the radio, and the announcer came on, and it was like some breaking news story that the scout camp had been attacked overnight. And all the evidence just pointed towards some escapee from the asylum who was known for killing and eating cubs. He was in our camp. He was scratching on my door. And I'm here to tell the story. Okay, I had way too much fun telling that one. Let's see. I love urban legends for the sole purpose that they're so adaptable. uh, let's see. What's another good theme? Oh, oh, there's one. Okay, there was it was a Halloween that our a neighbor down the street decided that she'd give my parents a break and take me and my sister trick or treating because, well, my parents were just gonna deal with the local kids, so they figured they'd go ahead and get this other girl to take us, and we'd hit up some of the better better candy neighborhoods, and babysitter was cool about it, and she got us in the car, and no, we were young enough, we were bouncing around in the front seat, and well, it was kind of a station wagon, but we were throwing our candy bags in the back, well, in the back of the car anyway. But we were, cruising around. I think, what was I dressed like that year? I was, what was I? I was dressed as Link. Yeah. Yeah, I was dressed as Link. Had the sword, shield, tights. Uh, had the hat. We need to put points on my ears. Yeah, I've already got pointy ears. But anyway, I can't remember what my sister was. I think my sister. I think my sister was trying to be Jim. Trying badly. But hey, all we could say is that the hologram was faulty. That would work. No one would know. And a lot of people didn't realize who Jim was because it was a couple years old by then. But anyway, went out. Nice, cool neighborhood. Um, we did park the car in the neighborhood just outside of some. Don't remember what it was. Just a couple of shops and a little strip mall. And wasn't thinking of it. Parked the car there, and we walked into the neighborhood because neighborhood was cool. Well, well lit neighborhood. So we do our thing and just trick or treat, kind of going up and down the street. It was cool. Oh, some of the decorations were just freaking awesome. Uh, well, awesome for the time. It's not like people could get animatronics when I was a kid. And animatronics was just kind of spoiled kids. What can I say? But anyway, we were doing pretty good. Could have done without the dentist's house because I really didn't want toothpaste and little travel toothbrush and the toothpaste thing. Who the hell gives that to a kid for Halloween? But anyway, uh, when his neighbors found out, they started giving out like full size freaking candy bars. And oh, chupas. Oh, I love chupas. They're chupa chups. They're like Mexican suckers. Great flavor. Always kind of creamy, but great. But we went ahead and went up and down the block. Well, we did like two or three blocks, and finally we started, getting a little tired, and figured we'd go ahead and head back to the car. And didn't think too much of it, and made it back to the car, and like I was half having to help carry my sister. And, well, To be honest, the babysitter was carrying my sister. I was carrying the candy because priorities. Clearly, my priority was candy, but I was a cub. So what do you say? But when we got there and about to say, okay, well, got to the car and the babysitter unlocked it and kind of stopped. Thought it was a little weird, but she went in, opened my door for me, and opened the back door and threw the bags of candy in, kind of soft thump, well, soft thud. And thought I heard one fall over. We'll clean up the candy afterwards because the babysitter was also tired, and we got in and stretched my sister out in the back seat and threw a blanket over her so she'd be comfy. And I got in the passenger seat because I kind of had a thing for the babysitter. But hey, what teenage boy doesn't? She was pretty cute, and she had a car. Admittedly, I think it was probably her parents' car, but still, any beautiful teenage girl that has a station wagon is just, okay. Let's get back to the story because she was also dressed as Riding Hood. But anyway, we started going home, and she went, "Oh," and I heard the old familiar ding, ding, ding. Well, she was low on gas, which is tends to happen when you're driving over town trying to locate the ideal candy spots. So she thought she'd go ahead and pull over and fill up the gas, and I thought, okay, well, that's fine. So we pull over, and she gets out of the car, and the gas tank's on her side, driver's side, so that's convenient. And I'm just kind of digging through the candy that kept in my pocket. I was eating that, and you hear my sister kind of snoring a little in the back seat. It's fine. And I start, munching on my candy, and of course, chocolate. Cubs aren't really supposed to have chocolate, but don't let anyone know, especially dark chocolate. Uh, dark chocolate isn't good for wolves. I've kind of got an immunity built up from it now. But anyway, I'm just kind of eating my nice chocolate and chowing down. And I just kind of hear, rapper. I figured, okay, well, maybe it's my sister. She's getting some of her candy out. And I look back and, well, she's still asleep. I said, oh, well, maybe it's just one of the wrappers I dropped and it was crumpled up on the ground or something. Didn't think anything of it, so kind of kept grooving there, eating my chocolate. Didn't think about having the radio on because that would have been way too convenient. And I kind of look over, and babysitter's still filling up the car. She's talking to a guy at the gas pump, and he's kind of a little animated about it, but she's just blowing it off, and she kind of just goes, talks about it, and she keeps filling up the car, and the guy comes around to my window and knocks on it. It's like, can I help you? He just looks at me and kind of motions to roll down the window because, crank windows. I was a cub. Give me a break. I'm old. I kind of roll it down a little and goes, kid, get out of the car. Go inside. Get some snacks. I'm just like, I've got snacks right here. I don't need to get out, and you're kind of strange and a little creepy. I want to stay here. He just, no, really, kid. Go in. Get a drink or something. It's on the house. I start to open the door, and I went, no, it's late. I'm not supposed to be, drinking soda. I'm not supposed to be eating candy either. But I've always been told not to offer free drinks from strangers. I mean, I didn't really get a hold of them until I got my own car. But he just kind of he goes, no, really, I need you to get your little sister, go inside, and Wait, okay? Uh, Sir, please go away. You're scaring me a little. Not much. Besides, I'm good here. And he just, after a couple minutes, the babysitter just tells him to, well, she kind of told him just fuck off. Because, God, she was hot. But still, she just said, dude, fuck off and leave the cub alone. And that was kind of suddenly disheartened because she called me a cub. But anyway, he just grumbles and says, I'm telling you, you should go inside. At least pay for it. Just, dude, I paid with card. He just shakes his head. All right, I can't get to you. Just be careful on the way home, okay? So, yeah, that's not creepy at all, really. And she gets in, starts the car, and writes down all the numbers in her little book thing. I never did get. I figured that what that was for when I got a car. Apparently, you're supposed to keep track of your mileage and such. And we just kind of go ahead and go home. And she drops us off, and I mentioned the candy in the back, and she just goes, "Oh, don't worry about that. I'll bring it by tomorrow." I went, okay, you're sure? Goes, yeah. So she gets out. I open my door. And I get my bag, and she picks up my sister and carry her up to the door, and then we kind of say goodnight to her, and she goes back to the car and just drives off. I guess she went home and didn't have any problems, but we saw her the next day, and she was, bringing my sister's candy over, and well, at least her candy bag. And she came in, and she was just shaking. And my mom had her come in and sat down and gave her some coffee. And I think my mom probably put a little whiskey in it. I think I smelled whiskey, but I hadn't really drunk it yet before then. Just beer. But they just started talking about it, and my sister was looking through her candy, and she just starts crying. And like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and that's it. I'm still eating my candy. And my mom just kind of shouts and says, "Alex, share some of your candy with your sister." I'm like, but she got her own. He goes, "Don't argue with me, young wolf." Uh, No, fine. I kind of split up what was left of my candy with my sister, and well, I didn't really hear much of the conversation about things, but and the babysitter was just shivering and kind of a little freaked out. And then my mom, she started freaking out too and hugged her. And then she came over and hugged me and my sister, and we're like, choking, choking, mom, too tight, too tight. And I just went, I don't know what's going on. And my mom went to the room to talk to dad about things. And I went over and just, I figured, alone time with the babysitter. So I go over and sit down next to her and just ask her what's wrong. And like, first thing she does is apologize for my sister's candy being missing. I went, well, it's fine. She had some of mine, and she goes, "You don't understand, Alex. Ken, your sister's candy was eaten." I looked at her and goes, "Why did you eat my sister's candy?" She goes, "It wasn't me." I went, "What?" No, I didn't do that. I just kind of looked at her and went, "This, me and my cub-like misunderstanding of the world." I just went, how would candy be eaten if it wasn't by you? She just looked at me and goes, the candy wrappers were just all over the back of my station wagon, just emptied out. And there was like chocolate smudge marks on the hatch for the back door. I just kind of looked at her and blinked out of complete misunderstanding. And she just looked at me and was going, oh my God. The guy at the gas station was trying to tell us. There was someone in my car. We could have been killed. Oh, man. This is doing so many bad things to my number rating, but I'm having too much fun. Can you guess what that story was based off of? Ah, man. Doot, 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 doot. So many other things. So many other things. Hmm. Hmm. That's another good idea. Seriously, you guys could give me a theme for a story and I'd try to improv one. Oh, that's always an interesting film. There's not enough water in this area for that one. I do feel bad about my babysitter though, and she was pretty hot, and she did have this thing about dressing like Little Red Riding Hood. I mean, honestly, that's probably where my fetish came from. Um, at oh, after I got to a certain age, she would no longer babysit for us because I was a bit mischievous of a little scamp. Never called myself a scamp before, but it's kind of funny. But anyway, way back when, still, living at home, I was getting into my less modest teen years, but I really felt myself too old to have a babysitter, and I mean, we still had the same babysitter, and she was getting to the point that she was almost in college, and I was maybe starting. Well, I was almost out of middle school, so you know, my parents were threatening to fix me. I wasn't marking anything else, but it was getting to that age, and they had gotten me and my sister our own phone line because, well, internet. And they didn't really think about it having a phone number or anything else like that. But I discovered it had one because I am a clever wolf. I knew the phone number. They apparently just never really paid any attention to it, although I still know that phone number. I wonder who owns it now. I'd be half tempted to call it, but I'm using my phone for this. Excuse me. But anyway, uh, babysitting, it wasn't Halloween, though it probably should have been, because no, actually, oh, what is it? It wasn't how. It was weekend before Halloween, because that's the only time my parents could ever go out and do anything. Is because it had to be a weekend because Cubs, and we didn't have to go trick or treating or anything, so we got stuck at the house. And of course, us getting stuck at the house meant we had a babysitter, a hot babysitter. I'll never forget her. Connie. Anyway, back to yeah. Anyway, babysitting. We were watching scary movies because that's what you do when you're stuck home alone. My sister had already crashed. I was still up with um, Connie, but we were watching the scary movies, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And they got to we were watching kind of cool horror movies. I figured they were getting way too predictable, and she was laughing about how no one could ever fall for this babysitter thing getting called from inside the house. Challenge accepted. Oh, yeah, I was a dirty bastard back then. But anyway, we're eating popcorn, drinking soda, because, I was going to stay up all night anyway, and she was not going to put me to bed. Damn it. But anyway, we were watching movies and got to maybe 10 o'clock or so, and she, for some odd reason, had given her quote unquote boyfriend house's phone number. So, of course, he called. Damn it. So, she was on the phone with him, not paying any attention to me at all, messing up our time watching the movie, messing up the time of me watching her get scared by the movie, messing up time of me staring, aimlessly at her cleavage. Yeah, she had a sweater on. It was very nice. I was just t-shirt and shorts because that's what I wore. But anyway, eating popcorn, I just kind of get up like I'm going to go to the bathroom. Cool. It's not like she's going to pause the movie for me because we're watching cable. Cable. Late night, weekend, cable, cute babysitter, watching horror movies. That is the best time of my life, I swear. Uh, Almost would have been better if the scramble channels were working. Ignore that. Uh, yeah. So I, leave the room, go back to the bathroom, and use the bathroom and do nothing completely inappropriate for when a babysitter is there. And I can wash my paws and go to my room and think, okay, well, check the internet, see what's cool. Logged into MySpace. I was glad about my age on there, but still looked at it. Top 8, made sure she was listed. Saw her boyfriend bragging about talking to her on the phone while he was online, and I said, "You are a dirty bastard." And then she commented back that she was having to take care of the brat and the runt. I'm going, wait a minute. The brat and the runt? Excuse me? Wait, am I the brat or the runt? No, the runt has to be my sister. She's small. Am I a brat? I'll show her how much of a brat I am. I go ahead and get offline and thought, okay, well, I kind of pick up the little phone next to my computer and I dial the main house phone. And of course, I don't hear it ring because call waiting and no call ID, so she has to answer it because it's beeping in her ear the entire time. I wait and just kind of go, Connie, I know what you're doing. Aren't you supposed to be watching the Cubs? And then I hung up. She switched back over to her boyfriend and automatically got up and came back, checked my sister's room, and saw her snoozing. Then she came to my room. I had turned off my light and just kind of flopped in the bed and pulled my blanket over. She looked in, thought I was asleep. Okay, so she went back to the living room and got back on the damn phone. Yeah, that's not going to fly with me. So I give her a little while and listen and hear her talking to her boyfriend again and starts talking about, oh, how they had supposedly had plans for the weekend and they got interrupted by kids and having to take care of cubs and how she was glad she at least got paid decently for this. I'm like, you get paid to hang out with us? That sucks. No, I pick up my phone and dial the main line again. Rings a little, then I hear her answering, and I go, have you checked on the Cubs lately? Then I hang up. Oh, she freaked out again. I just went back and went back to bed and thought, okay, this is hilarious, and I covered it back up, and I was trying not to laugh, and she came back in. Apparently, I heard my sister's door open. Light flick on, light flick off. Then she came back to my door, opened it. A little bit harder to open my door this time because I'd kind of blocked it a little. And she looks at me and says, okay, he's sound asleep too. So she slowly closes the door and just eases it back in and says, okay. She walked a little bit slower down the hall and she turned the TV down a little bit more, figuring, hey, we were asleep. We just didn't want to wake us up or anything else, which I thought was completely hilarious. And she got on the phone again. She called him this time. I'm like, oh, excuse me? Hello? You are interrupting my time with Connie? You bastard. So, me, I knew about Cowardy already. I knew what his phone number was. So I called him this time. And of course, I hear her complain about being interrupted and everything else. And then she goes, oh, you've got a call? Okay, fine. I'll wait. Then I click over. And there he is. He's going, I'm watching Connie. Then I hang up on him. He gets back on the line and tells her to get out of the house. And she's going, I can't leave the Cubs here. I can't leave them alone. While they're freaked out, I call the main line again because I am such a dirty bastard. Anyway, I just go, that's an awfully nice sweater you have on, Connie. Have you checked on the Cubs lately? Oh, she completely freaks out and hangs up on me and rushes back and checks on my sister first because clearly my sister is priority. And I guess she thinks I could defend myself better, which, clearly I could. Being, magic hadn't quite shown up yet, but still, I knew it was coming. So she checks on my sister and just kind of looks around. She inspects her room closely, which I thought was hilarious. And then she comes in, checks on me. I'm still looking like I'm asleep. Uh, faking snoring a little because, well, I had to close the deal up a little. I thought, okay, that's great and everything else. She goes back into the living room and tries to turn on the TV a little bit louder. And she just stares at the phone. Her boyfriend, calls back, and they get on the phone again and start talking and other things. And yada yada. I let maybe 10 minutes or so go by. Well, 5 minutes really after they were on the call. I get up and I've got some like cherry candy, the kind that really makes you drool a lot. And I just pop it in my mouth and just sucking on it as hard as I can and kind of walk over to my sister's room. Then I just go, oh, got this nice red tinted stuff all over my hands because I like my hand. I get it. Just kind of trail my fingers over my sister's face and kind of trail some along her neck. And I pat some on her blanket just to really sell the deal. Then I go back to my room and kind of lay there, get some chocolate and everything else, and kind of mix it up. And I kind of get stuff all over my mouth like I was slobbering and everything else. Like I looked like I was fighting, and I made sure to scrape stuff under my claws, just, so wanted to make it look like I at least tried to put up a fight. And then I picked up my phone, and I call again. I call her boyfriend and say, "You should tell Connie to check on the Cubs. I'm still watching her. She looks really good in that skirt tonight." And I hung up. So this time, he tells her to, down the line, he would call back and see what's going on. Showtime. My room was not the only one with a phone. There was also a phone in my dad's office, and the one in my, because we were using my phone for our phone line for the computer, of course. I think about it, and I think about it really fast, and I turn off the ringer on my phone so it doesn't ring in my room. Her boyfriend calls the phone number. He star 69'd us. It was hilarious. He got the computer line. The phone rings in my dad's office. She hears it and she screams bloody fucking murder. It was hilarious. And she rushes in. She, she goes to my sister's room and sees all the red stuff all over her. She freaks out even more. She rushes into. Oh, she didn't rush into my room. She just completely blew me off. Completely. It was. But she goes in and starts telling her boyfriend and everything else. She calls him and goes, "The phone rang in the office. The phone, what's it? Someone's here. He goes, "Someone's in the house. You need to get out." He goes, "But the Cubs." He just tells her to get the fuck out and leave us behind. Bastard. Dirty fucking bastard. As soon as she hangs up, I call again. And she answers, and I just start laughing. I just start laughing on the phone hilariously. And she hears me. I was laughing loud enough that she heard me past the phone. She carries the phone down the hall and stands outside my door and hears me still laughing. Then I hang up. She kicked open my door and said, "You little bastard!" I just fell over laughing again. Oh, yeah. Good times. Yeah. Definitely earned the title that I was the brat that night. The phone call's coming inside the house. Oh God. Oh man. True story. Decade or so. Well, not even decades. Like 5 or 6 years later, the movie Scream came out. I was working in a movie theater. Let's just say I reprised my role. Started calling the payphone there and scaring the hell out of the customers when they're coming out. So much fun. Oh, let's see. I need a good story. Uh, Story ideas. Oh wait. Oh, there's a story. Yeah. I think this is one my aunt told me. Um. Now see. You wouldn't think a rural town would have a lot of issues with theft, but I mean, everyone was in everyone's business, so you could just if something went missing, it was pretty easy to find out where it went. But there was this one time someone's chickens started going missing. Of course, they all blamed the fox. It wasn't the fox, I think. No, it wasn't. So they started just, everyone's. And it wasn't just one person it was happening to, it was happening randomly because the thief was cunning. No, it wasn't me. I don't steal chickens. I steal hearts. Anyway, which was talking about, okay, well, everyone was having, their chickens going missing. And then, after a while, like half the chickens in town had gone missing, and no one knew what was going on. And it's not like we had security cameras at the time or anything else like that. So I started trying to set up traps, figuring, okay, well, maybe it's just some fox sneaking around, like live fox, not you know anthropomorphic fox, but like regular fox, feral boys. And they figured, okay, well, maybe something like that's happening. So they started setting up traps around town, and like the traps would get sprung, but there wouldn't be anything in them, or they wouldn't find anything after, or a couple of times the traps went off, and the bait was still there. So something smart was doing it. And then it's like no one really thought anything of it, and then they realized that well, one of the guys in town who had chickens, but he never seemed to really lose any. I think he lost maybe one or two in the entire time when everyone else was like missing like up to four. But he was doing pretty good, and they just thought, okay, well, nothing going wrong here, and thought about it. And they kind of started getting suspicious of the guy, thinking that, well, maybe he's our chicken thief, and he's just not getting caught. So my aunt started, okay, well, if this is going to be going on, she's going to start um, trying to set up her chickens to be stolen, see if she can catch the guy. And she didn't think about it at the time because, you know, she's kind of a country wolf and doesn't. You'd think she would have thought more about it, but I guess not. So she started feeding stuff that wasn't toxic to chickens, but was to other creatures, let's say. So she started just, feeding one of her hensies and didn't think anything of it, and hens lay eggs. Yeah, she really didn't put any thought into this, but she just kept doing it. And, she kept feeding it, and chicken wasn't stolen. Some of her other ones did, so she started feeding all the chickens this and didn't think anything of it. And, thinking, okay, that's fine. So chickens weren't getting stolen. Chickens weren't getting stolen. She was harvesting and selling the eggs. A lot of them went to the one guy anyway, so he liked eggs because eggs are tasty. Eggs. I should make some eggs after this. But anyway, they she kept doing it, and finally one of her chickens got stolen. She was going, aha! This way we will find out who it is who's stealing the chickens. And she talked to the town and said that, well, she talked to the police and then like talked to the mayor, who was like, might as well have been my grandmother, and everyone knew her, and she was fine. Owned like half the property in town anyway. She was just letting people rent into them. But she told them, and they said, okay, we'll start paying attention to the people who are getting sick with the symptoms you're telling us. Yeah. They started paying attention, and everything kept going somewhat normally. And then they noticed that half the town had started getting sick. So they started looking into it, and said, okay, well, started trying to figure out who was stealing the chickens, and like more chickens had gotten stolen than another one of my aunt's chickens got stolen. So they started doing that and everything else, and more people started getting sick, and it kept getting worse. And they're going, but she's going, only one person has to be stealing my chicken. I don't know what's going on. So they keep doing it, and she keeps feeding her chickens, and no one else steals one of her chickens. The other people's chickens got stolen, and people just kept getting sicker and sicker. And they started thinking, okay, well, we should stop eating chicken then, because the chickens are clearly wrong. The guy who wasn't getting sick thought nothing of it, and he just kept doing as he was doing, selling chicken and everything else. And eventually, even the police chief started getting sick. So they didn't really think anything of it, and about say, okay, well, it couldn't be him. So they start going through and just start eliminating all the people that were getting sick, because they may or may not be the chicken thief. And then one of the people in town starts getting sick enough that they end up like listing as being poisoned, and they get rushed to the ER, and they're like put on life support because they're like dying because of some reason they don't understand, and no one else's chickens started getting stolen. So they figured, well, if the person who's in the hospital dying, well, we know who the chicken thief was. So the person stayed in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and they did end up dying. And they ransacked their house and couldn't find anything else of it. And like they did find some chicken pieces in it, but they raised their own chickens, so they didn't think anything of it. They figured they were just their own chickens and wondered if their chickens were bad or anything else like that. And after they died, chickens started missing again, which was just kind of weird because they thought, oh, the chicken thief died, right? So why are chickens still going missing? And then people started getting sick again, and they didn't really think anything of it. And a few more people kept getting sick, and finally it got down to the point that like everyone seemed to be getting some level of this weird poisoning, except two people in town. And those two people were my aunts and the guy that was doing all the chicken butchering and everything else. And again, he had his own chickens. They didn't think anything of it. So they didn't know what was going on. And they couldn't find out, well, no more of the chickens were being stolen, but everyone was still getting sick. So they started asking everyone in town, see if there was anything there that was part of the notion. And they said that clearly the person stealing the chickens has been poisoning us. They've been poisoning us with the stolen chickens from you. And looked at my aunt, but said, well, my aunt didn't think the other because she was kind of a dense wolf. And then they realized my aunt had been poisoning everyone with the eggs. So they went ahead and locked her up, and I thought, okay, well, maybe she was one causing all of it. As soon as she was arrested, like almost everyone stopped getting sick, but then all the chickens were stolen. So they didn't know what that was going on because, well, small town wolves. And finally, the one guy, butcher, left, and everything started being fine, everything else. And then they go to my aunt, and she's, still completely healthy in jail. And asked her what was going on. And she was like, "Oh, I was giving my chickens feed to make whoever ate the chicken sick, and then people were stealing the chickens, and I was hoping they were getting sick, so everyone in town got sick." And they told her she was a complete fucking moron, which she was, because she was poisoning everyone with the eggs. Boy, that story rambled. Not really even a scary ending to it either. That was just me rambling. But that's kind of something you tell around a campfire. uh, I need better themes. Although that was completely improv, so I don't know. Let's go back to horror. Where's a good horror story? And that one really just went off the rails completely. But that's definitely a urban legend to tell around. Okay, that's just one. Okay. Okay, so I've gotten to where I'm reading the outlines of these stories and just making one up as I go. But anyway, there was this couple who was having to travel cross country with their kids and family, and they were supposed to be taking their grandmother to their favorite vacation spot. Well, that was fine and good, and on the way there, well, with the grandmother died. The end. Just kidding. I think about, okay, well, we've got her here. We'll go ahead and finish the trip and, you know, set up the burial there because that's where she was supposed to be going home to go to hospice anyway. They were coming back from vacation, so they didn't think of it. And the kids started complaining about not wanting to ride in the car with the dead grandma. Can you blame them? So they kind of put her back in the trailer with the luggage and everything else, and pack some ice around her to keep her cool. Didn't think anything of it. And they go ahead and go along the merry way. And luckily, the trailer did have a bit of an air conditioner, but still, it's a horse trailer. They keep traveling this. kind of forget she's there for a while, and they do all the nice little sideways stops, do a little sightseeing, kind of figuring this is what she would have wanted. She would have wanted us to enjoy it. She would have wanted to stop at all these places and look at things, and they were doing it to honor her, and they stopped at a hotel one night and thought, okay, well, we're still maybe half a day away, but it's really too late, and we should stop for the night, and it'll be fine. We'll just get a room and get a couple hours sleep and be good with it. So they go ahead and pull in, get their trailer, everything else. They go back and check on Grandma. They go ahead and use some of the ice from the hotel and just repack her. God, that sounds weird. So they go ahead and go in, and it's fine. The kids are rambunctious, they want to do stuff, and the parents just want to crash for the night. And like the dad, like literally falls asleep in a chair, and they just don't think anything of it. And they just kind of leave that dead grandma in the trailer. Well, that's all fine and good. They get a decent night's sleep and don't think anything of it. They go back out and get in the car and everything else, and they look over everything. Everything's still there. They look in the trailer. You know, looks like Grandma's still there, so they just let her alone. Back in the car, and they drive off. Well, all is fine and good, right? Except the probably been an hour in, the father just kind of feels like, oh, we're making some really good time. This trailer is hauling really well. Everything should be good. He's kind of looking, checking out gas mileage, going speed, and then I start feeling bumps in the road. And say, oh well, this will be good. And it's just kind of hit the bumps and everything else. And I said, oh, hope she's still back there. And finally looks back in the mirror, and the trailer's gone. Yeah. So they completely freak out and panic and slam their brakes and everything else, and cause massive traffic jam behind them because they were finally getting to somewhere that was heavily traveled. And they just completely panic, and they go, "Okay, crap, Grandma's gone. Where's the trailer? Where's our stuff?" Kids are more prioritized about their stuff than their grandma, because teenagers. And the parents are like, "Okay, we have to go back and see if we can find it." And they pull around and drive back. They're kind of looking for the trailer, see if they can figure out where it was, if it got detached somewhere when they're driving, and looking around back and forth, see if it's anywhere on the side of the road, see if anything else is there, and they make it all the way back to the hotel. Well, they look around the hotel, and the trailer's not there either. They talked to the people at the hotel, and they said that, yeah, the trailer was hauled off a little while ago. Didn't you take it with you? I went, no, we didn't. At least we thought it was attached, but it's nowhere near there. And they go, well, don't you drive a, and they describe a pickup. People go, no, we don't. So they're just going, did you get the license or anything else for the pickup? And what kind, can you give us a description of it? And, I'll call the cops and see if they can track it down or anything like that. And they go through and do all the things, and all the police report and everything else. And the police find the trailer 2 days later, dumped on the side of the road, flies buzzing around it and everything else. And apparently, the people who stole it went back and saw what was in the trailer and just abandoned it. Just didn't report or anything else because that would have been stupid to report a stolen trailer. But they go ahead and find the trailer, and the police bring it back to the impound lot, and the people come to claim it, and they go out to the trailer because the police weren't told what was in the trailer, and they just, left an impounded, like, abandoned vehicle. And people come to claim it and identify it. They look at it, and well, all of our stuff's here. Except, where's Grandma? This is a very delayed jump scare. Oh well. Man, I would hate to have been one of those thieves and find the trailer, but honestly, did they take the grandmother? And she wasn't in the trailer anymore. What happened? Because weird stuff going on. But, I'm weird like that. And oh, trying to think of another story. Hmm. Let's see. I need a theme. Hmm. Killer in the back seats. Babysitter in the man upstairs. Hmm. Da, 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 da. Hey, Yo, do you have a theme of a story? See if I can make one up. And I could probably do another one on the flyer, so. Question is, do I want to tell stories until midnight, or do I just want to tell stories until. Oh, that's already 11. Can I do another hour's worth? Let's see, let's see. Mm-hmm. Okay, nothing's sparking to mind. I could just revise a fairy tale, but that would be too easy. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever heard this one. Yeah, okay. That'd be too funny. Okay, so, yeah. So, I was thinking about it, and strange stories from the past. There was this one time that I was invited to a surprise party. Well, I wasn't invited, I just kind of found it. But I was apparently not supposed to know about it. I was in on the surprise, which there was. Oh, honestly, it was a party I wasn't invited to. It happens a lot. But I was talking to some people, and they were yep, hear them talking about a party. And I thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool. Well, see if I can drop by sometime. Well, didn't know I wasn't really wanted or invited, but I was friends with everyone there. I just thought it was kind of weird. But it was a surprise party, and was not the best of surprises. Let me tell you, as it was for a mutual friend, and they had all been set up for that, and I never heard any of the details about it, so I couldn't spill the beans on the party or anything else. But I didn't think anything of it, and I just thought, okay, I'll hang out with the person and help be a distraction, so that they wouldn't, stumble on the party themselves. But people keep forgetting that for a while I was armed. Yeah, because a wizard is never unarmed, honestly. We always have ways to defend ourselves, and me, not only, being a mage and having claws, I can do pretty well. I mean, I wasn't armed with a weapon, I was armed with my wit, and, well, I was apparently low on it that night. But anyway, I hung out the day with the person whose birthday was and didn't think anything of it. And the other person said that they had to go take care of something, and they said that chill, and if I could go ahead and drop them off later or whatnot, and they'd go ahead and take care of the party. And I figured, oh, cool, I guess it has to be helpful. They didn't tell me where the party was, so I didn't know where I was supposed to take them. They just say I was not part of the surprise. But we went ahead, went out and had dinner, and ate and everything else, and got to the time where I knew the party was supposed to be. And my friend got the text message that they were needed somewhere, and I was like, oh, well, that's cool. I guess you can go do that, and I'll go about my way. You can have a cool day and whatnot. Now, guess I'll see you later. But I'll find Andy, and that's okay. Well, that's cool. So they go their way, and I kind of go my way, and I think about it, and I'd say, I don't know where the party is. I want to make that sure. I did not know where the party was being held because I was not invited or apparently wanted, which sucked. It happens a lot. I guess I worked too much at the time to even be considered to be invited. But things changed after that. As I was going doing all this stuff, and I start noticing, hey, look, there's a bunch of people with cars I recognize. I thought, okay, well, I guess they can be doing it there. I don't know. I mean, if it was me, I would, park the car somewhere else so they wouldn't be drawing attention. I thought, well, that's kind of silly. And I went over and parked next to all the other cars and looked around, and I I didn't so much hear, but I smelt where they were. His nose, wolf, that kind of thing. So I kind of snoop around. It was looked like it was an office complex. Kind of weird that anyone would go there, but it looked like it was locked, and that was kind of weird. And I thought about it, and so my side thing is kind of preventing terror from entering their world and whatnot, because the fairy tale monsters are quite creepy, and I'm supposed to get rid of them. So I go ahead and go in, and I start hearing sounds that are very familiar in my trade. I thought, oh, this is not a good thing. If one of those is here and the building, all hell could be breaking loose, then I really need to stop this. So I start snooping around the building, and I see movement inside, but I can't identify what it is. And judging by the fact that there are several and of decent size, I really didn't trust it that much. So
I got a bad feeling about this.
way in, the door was locked. Exactly. So I kind of charmed the lock undone, and I hear more scuffling outside, and it sounded like there started being some kind of fight or something. And then I hear like a whacking sound, like some metal or, well, probably more of a wood hitting something. So I bust in the door, and I just, well, it wasn't fireball. I just do stunners when I'm startled. So I open the door. It's dark. They see my outline. They flick on the light. They scream surprise. I just let loose a bunch of stunners, and yeah, I kind of ruined the party. Oh man, I was not supposed to be there, and they were whacking a pinata that looked like me. I was a little upset about that, but yeah, when you can't join a party, beat it. Okay, I'm not sure how much more weirdness I have stuck in me tonight. It is Halloween after all, and well, witching hour is coming up, and I do need to possibly deal with some creepy crawlies coming around. So, yeah, I should probably be heading out. You know, mage's work is never done. So, yeah, let's see who's on that we can hunt, shall we? Let's see who is on. Who is on? Still here, Riley. Let's see. Papa Penguin on. Eb's on. Riley's on. All these cool people streaming on Halloween. North. Oh, wait. I see someone on RS. I mean, raid. Let's go for Acid Kitty Boy. But, thanks everyone for coming on in and listening to me be weird. Because weird random stories are the best kind, right? Right. So, have a good night and happy Halloween.